Muzan Kibutsuji, meaning the merciless demon or the miserable demon. Muzan Kibutsuji is the first and strongest demon in existence. From the moment of his birth, he was so sick to the point his doctor diagnosed that he wouldn't live long. Even when he was still in his mother's womb, Muzan was so weak that his heart had stopped several times. This experience of despair and helplessness made him obsessed with the ideal of immortality and deadly afraid of death.
Miraculously, he achieves a long life by becoming a demon as a result of an inadvertent transformation. His doctor administered him an experimental medicine containing the primary component of the rare blue spider lily in an effort to save his life. Being the original demon, Muzan is the only one who possesses blood that can transform humans into demons. Demons are a race very similar to vampires. They live longer, have enhanced senses, regeneration, incredible physical abilities, and even special skills called blood demon art. But there is a cost to pay to become a demon. Only those who are resilient enough and have withstood Muzan's blood can become demons, or else they would be burned to ashes. And one who does transform has to abandon their memory and humanity and feed on human blood and flesh to survive. They also become stronger with each human they devour, so they would kill and feast on humans a lot. Demons also have a deadly weakness. Sunlight can fatally burn demons into ashes upon being exposed to it, and from the moment he learns about this weakness, Muzan has dedicated himself to using his blood to turn humans into an army of demons in an effort to find the blue spider lily and create a demon variation that is immune to sunlight. Muzan also finds suitable candidates and forms a squad full of strong demons called the 12 Kizuki, which contains the upper and lower moon demons. The lower moon membership is constantly shifting compared to the upper rank. Their only reason for existence is helping Muzan achieve his dream.
For Muzan, other demons are merely pawns and tools to be sacrificed, but the demon rampage also caused an immense loss to humans. Because of this, an organization named Demon Slayer Corps was formed by Muzan's relatives in an effort to put a stop to the demon and destroy Muzan, thus ending the demon race he had spawned all at once. The Corps used various methods to try to stop the demons, including wisteria flower poison, Nichiren swords, breathing technique, and the most importantly is the countless lives of human swordsmen. The struggle started from the Heian period and lasted for 1,000 years. Muzan is cold-hearted, cruel, ruthless, self-centered, prideful, and extremely arrogant. Being alive for so long, killing countless lives, and surviving countless battles without meeting any consequences only feeds into his ego more. He embodies hubris and carnage. He thinks of himself as a natural disaster. His only goal is to conquer the sun and become a perfect being. Everything else means nothing to him. He had a calm and detached facade, but being an extreme perfectionist, he would rage at everything that didn't go his way.
Throughout his life, Muzan took on many forms to blend into society and achieve his goal, from a child to a gentleman to a lady and even a newborn. But most often, he is seen extremely well-dressed and seems to enjoy a higher living standard.
Later, when he finds out Nezuko manifests an immunity to sunlight, he immediately focuses his efforts on capturing and devouring her, hoping to gain her immunity. The Demon Slayer Corps exploits his obsession and sets a trap that kills his remaining subordinates, but he turned the tables and brought everyone into his infinite castle. Muzan kills numerous Demon Slayers before realizing that he was drugged by Tamayo with a variation of the humanity-restoring serum, aging medicine with added poisons that nullify most of his abilities and weaken him enough so that the Corps can fight him till dawn.
About his ability, outside of being a peak demon with every strength they got, his way of fighting is extremely simple, because to him, he is just better than anyone else. With strength alone, he could overwhelm everything. Even after dissolving a drug that was supposed to weaken his powers by turning back into a human and age him thousands years old, Muzan still could easily annihilate close to 100 demon slayers in a very short period effortlessly. And to kill him in that weakened state, the corpse have to use every single resource in every single swordsman's life. That's how strong he is. Muzan's final act before dying is to turn Tanjiro into a demon by transferring his own powers so that he would kill the demon slayers and live on as his successor, but it also fails when Tanjiro's friends help him turn back into a human.
Kyogai, meaning the loud echo of victory music. Kyogai, the drum demon, is the first true lower moon demon that Tanjiro and Zenitsu encountered when they were on a rescue mission. To be more precise, Kyogai is the former lower-ranked 6th of the Kizuki, but Muzan strips him of his rank due to him slowly losing the ability to eat humans and reaching his power limit. Afterwards, he obsessively tries to earn his spot back in the 12 Kizuki, attacking and eating humans who pass by the Tsuzumi mansion to gain his strength, especially humans who have rare blood, Marechi. Kyogai was a very tall, muscular
regular humanoid demon with his stomach, shoulders, hips, front chest, and back all having drums protruding from them, of which he uses for his blood demon art called drum spells. Despite his intimidating appearance, Kyogai was a relatively quiet, calculating, and soft-spoken demon, completely different from his louder and aggressive kind. He fights using its Suzumi drums embedded into his body. Striking them can change the house's rooms around as well as his position in it, and also allows him to unleash powerful air slashes. At some point, Kyogai captured Kiyoshi due to him possessing Marichi blood. Before Kyogai could eat Kiyoshi, he was attacked by two other demons who were also after the rare blood, suffering an injury when one of them dislodged the drum from his back. In his fight with Tanjiro, Kyogai's memory comes back and reveals that he was once an artist who showed excellent proficiency at playing Suzumi drums, but someone lectured him over the quality of his writings, telling him that he had become boring, only beating his drum and not leaving his house, and didn't have the skills to teach people. As he left, the individual stepped on one of the demon's papers, causing an irate Kyogai to kill him. Above all else, Kyogai truly desired to be recognized for his talent. He wanted people to love his writing and was devastated when he was told to give up on it as a human. Upon his death, when Tanjiro Kamado recognized his talent, it allowed Kyogai's soul to rest in peace, tears running down his face and happy that someone had finally acknowledged his skills.
Rui, meaning accumulate. Rui is a childlike demon who holds the position of lower rank 5. Tanjiro encountered him when they were sent to back up other demon hunters at Mount Natagumo. Rui is a boy of short stature and small physical build, wearing a white oversized kimono that had spiderwebs etched on all over it. He is a quasi-calm, aloof, and somewhat polite individual who rarely raises his voice when talking with others, though his attitude is only a mask for his repressed anger and annoyance, tempered by a deep longing for a true family bond.
But his ability, Rui's primary blood demon art allowed him to create thin threads indiscernible from silk from his own flesh and manipulate them however he pleased. He typically extended the threads from his fingertips like a puppet master. Due to his own body's durability, the threads Rui manipulates were extremely durable and sharp, being capable of cutting as well as Nichiren swords. Rui can further amplify their strength and durability by infusing his blood through them, giving them a blood-red color. Rui displayed terrifying proficiency in utilizing his threads for combat purposes, making use of the environment to spawn a barrage of slashing attacks or manifest unavoidable web techniques to trap and slice his opponents into pieces. Before becoming a demon, Rui was a sickly young boy who was transformed by Muzan under the disguise of a doctor, trying to cure him from his illness. At first, he got healthy, but not long after that, Rui's parents found out about what their son had truly become. They attempted to kill him and then kill himself to atone for his sin, but Rui, with his demon strength, killed both of them in self-defense and fell into confusion. Because Rui's background is similar to his, Muzan favors him, tricking Rui into believing he did nothing wrong and granting him permission to form a family as he wished. Despite his polite demeanor, Rui still had the cruelty that most demons possess, and his desire for a close family bond is incredibly twisted and founded on nothing but fear. He instilled his disturbed wish through repeated abuse of his fellow kin, which he did with unrepentant sadism. To him, family members were worthless and as good as dead if they did not perform their roles as he defined them. This causes him to be envious of the Kamado siblings' bond when he witnesses them protect each other even in the face of death. He loses his calm demeanor and attacks the pair of siblings erratically, until Giyu kills him. In his final moments, he remembers his parents and reunites with them in hell. Every demon is always under Muzan's control, sharing their thoughts and vision with him, and with his favorite defeat, Muzan fell into a deep rage when he deemed that the lower moon demons were all useless. This led to their despair.
Kamanue, meaning pot chimera, of lower rank 6. Mugago, propagule, lower rank 4. Wakuraba, meaning evil leaf, lower rank 3. Rokuro, rumbling wheel, lower rank 2. After Rui's defeat, 4 of them, together with Enmu, are all summoned by Muzan to Infinity Castle for a lower moon gathering. Here, Muzan angrily lectures them about their place with the 12 Kizuki, and how the upper ranks have remained unchanged for over a century, whilst the lowers are continually replaced. Upon Muzan's wrath, they all fold and act restlessly. Reading their mind and seeing how cowardly they act, Muzan rages and decides to purge all of the lower ranks. Their ability and blood demon arts are unknown because of their short appearance. Enmu, meaning the dream of a nightmare. Enmu is a sadistic demon who holds the position of lower rank 1 and is the main antagonist of the Mugen Train arc. Enmu is a slender young man, possessed medium build and average height. He appeared to be in his mid-20s. He first appears when Muzan summons him to the lower moon gathering. He is cold, callous, and openly states that he enjoyed the pain and suffering of others, be they human or demon. When Muzan killed every other lower moon, he showed no reaction, even calling their behaviors foolish. When it was Enmu's turn, Muzan asked for his last words. Enmu raves about the the dire situation being a dream come true to him, happy that his death is by Muzan's hands, and speaking of his enjoyment in watching his fellow demon's final moments of fear and agony. As Enmu writhes in agony, Muzan injects him with a large amount of blood and congratulates him for giving a pleasing answer, ordering him to kill a demon slayer wearing Hanafuda earrings. Upon receiving more power, he seemed to have become overconfident and greedy. From his childhood, Enmu had a tendency to not be able to distinguish the difference between dreams and reality. When becoming an adult, he pretends to be a doctor and misuses procedures like hypnotic therapies to trick his patients. After becoming a demon, his blood demon art granted him the ability to force anyone into a deep sleep through various methods. He then can enter, manipulate, and control their dreams or destroy their spirit core to render them completely vulnerable. After taking Muzan's command, Enmu locates a large train and makes use of it as a base, frequently using his somnokinesis to mentally torment passengers before murdering them. After over 40 people had disappeared, the Tanjiro trio and Hashiro Kyojuro Rengoku were sent aboard the train to investigate. Like most demons, Enmu was shown to have little to no care for human life and saw them as nothing more than mere expendable pawns. He tricked some passengers into helping put Tanjiro and the other to sleep with a promise of an eternal dream. But later, he would reveal that after showing them the best dream, he would change them all into nightmares to watch these people suffer. With Enmu's instruction, the passenger used a bone awl made from his bone and teeth, a special rote made of his flesh, and train tickets soaked in his blood to make his move on the demon slayers and destroy their spiritual core with the awl. But with strong mental fortitude, Tanjiro woke up and challenged him on the train's rooftop. When Tanjiro cut his head off, Enmu reveals that he has another ability that allows him to merge himself with the train. After a long, hard fight with the help of others, Tanjiro ultimately kills him. As he dies, Enmu begins to desperately curse everything, even his own failure, and finally crumbles to nothing. With his death came the total and permanent defunctness of the lower ranks, just as Muzan had originally intended.
Daki and Gyutaro. Daki means degenerate princess, and Gyutaro means a male barker who works at the red light district. Daki and Gyutaro are a pair of siblings who share the position of upper rank 6. They are the first upper moon rank that Tanjiro and the Slayers encounter after defeating Enmu. They were aiding Hashira Tengen Uzui find his wives and investigate the demon in the entertainment district. During the Edo period over a century ago, Daki was born with a head of white hair and was named Ume. Her mother later died from Ume disease, which is syphilis. She was then raised by Gyutaro. Daki was a tall and curvaceous woman who's described to be so pretty that her beauty at a young age could make adults falter. Her beauty led to her early success in the district, despite her volatile personality, until she was burned alive at the age of 13 by a customer she attacked. Gyutaro was a tall man of fairly muscular build, but still strangely starved to the point of looking skeletal and hunched over like the hunchback of Notre Dame. From the moment he was born, Gyutaro was ostracized for his ugly appearance. Despite it, Ume's beauty and success still gave him joy and pride, and allowed him to embrace his vile disposition while living as a debt collector. Later, he was mortally wounded after killing the customer who burned Ume alive. On the verge of death, both of them were turned into demons by Doma. Because of the hardships he faced from an early age, Gyutaro believed that taking from those who have a better life than him was justified, and this belief also affects his sister. Daki and Gyutaro serve as dark foils to Tanjiro and Nezuko. While both sibling pairs endured poverty and hardship, Tanjiro and Nezuko found peace and love within their humble family life. In contrast, Daki and Gyutaro grew resentful, cursing those more fortunate than themselves. They both have a very scornful view of humans and take pride in becoming a demon. After the transformation, Daki turns into a very prideful, dismissive, and sadistic person. She takes enjoyment in toying with her victims before killing them and not showing the slightest bit of guilt. Despite being over 100 years old, she displayed childish and bratty tendencies, such as throwing tantrums, crying hysterically when things didn't go her way, and lashing out against anyone. She thinks very highly of herself, while viewing others as worthless and not worth her time. Gyutaro is no better. He is cruel, ruthless, petty, and envious of anyone blessed with a better life than him. He developed a habit of sarcastically complimenting a person's best traits before vindictively killing them afterwards. Despite his torpid appearance, Gyutaro was very tactical and intelligent, expertly analyzing his opponent and planning his fighting style accordingly. Having lived over 100 years and battled many demon slayers in Hashira, Gyutaro was an extremely powerful demon with having killed and devoured 15 Hashira. But this also makes him become arrogant and prideful, developing the habit of underestimating his opponents and looking down on them, as he did with the team of demon slayers dispatched to kill him by having his sister fight and deal
deal with them first rather than himself. Though Daki's power is no less than her brother's, she has killed and devoured 7 Hashira. Daki's blood demon art allowed her to create flower-patterned obi sashes, which soft like silk, yet as sharp as a Nichiren sword from her flesh, as well as freely manipulating them at will, even at extremely far distances. In combat, Daki used her obi sashes as powerful and fast tendril-like whips to unleash long-range, interweaving attacks, while also being able to use them to form a shield around her body if need be, making her blood demon art an extremely effective blend of offense and defense. After a long, hard fight, Tanjiro and the other Slayers managed to cut her head off, but this is when Gyutaro and Daki show their abnormal trait, which is not seen in most demons. Despite the fact that the siblings are 2 different persons that shared a single body, together with Gyutaro normally remains concealed within Daki. This skill also gives them decapitation immunity, unless cut them both off at the same time. Like a mantis, Gyutaro displayed mastery and dual-wielding his flesh kama, which was coated in poison. His blood demon art also allowed him to manipulate his own body's blood in various ways. In combat, he usually created barrages of solidified, sickle-shaped projectiles as sharp as blades that can travel at immensely fast speeds. He can also freely manipulate these blood slashes at will, altering their movements until they hit his opponent or create a shield of blood to defend. After the Slayer managed to cut their head off at the same time, the duo of demon siblings started blaming each other for their failure. Upon seeing that, Tanjiro tries to make them make up.
Upon his death, Gyutaro recognized that his only true regret was his sister. Deep down, he thought that his negative influence had molded her into a selfish and possessive person. He genuinely wished that she were born and raised by someone else, and in better circumstances, so Daki could experience many other wonderful things and live many different lives without having to walk on the path of becoming a demon. He completely shoulders the blame for all of her deplorable actions. In the limbo, he even tries to sever their ties and send Daki to heaven, but despite her spoiled attitude, Daki also possessed a strong, genuine love for her brother and refused to abandon him, even if it meant they were going to hell together. Daki tearfully reminded Gyutaro that no matter what happened, they were at their strongest together, and promised that no matter how many times she died and was reborn, she would always be his little sister. With that, they vanished together. Gyokko, meaning jewel pot. Gyokko is an arrogant demon who holds the position of upper rank 5 and attacks Swordsmith Village with Hantengu under Muzan's command. Before transforming into a demon, Gyokko's name was Managi, and he lived in a fishing village by the coast. He was disliked because he possessed a disturbed and violent mind since childhood. His sense of beauty and artwork is also very morbid. He had been killing animals for mischief, sewing various kinds of fish together, gathering scales and bones in pots, and engaging in other abnormal behavior. Even when he saw the corpses of his drowned parents, he thought that they were beautiful. When a village child teased his artwork, Managi was enraged. He murdered the child and stuffed the corpse in a vase, which caused the child's parent to lynch him to near death, but he was saved by Muzan. As a demon, Gyokko had a very bizarre and grotesque physiology, taking on the form of a pale white abstracted humanoid figure like an armless statue growing from a porcelain vase, similar to a djinn. Gyokko's face was even more distorted, with his eyes being on his forehead and mouth, along with 2 mouths being where his eyes would be. Gyokko was shown to be an easily excitable demon, constantly fawning over new inspirations for what he deems his art or what he finds to be sublime, sometimes even going against his initial impressions. However, Gyokko was incredibly sadistic and had a particularly morbid sense of taste. When he attacked the village, he brutalized several swordsmiths and created a beautiful piece by mangling their bodies together with several swords stuck to them. He even went into great detail in explaining his artwork, demonstrating he not only left his victims unnaturally alive, but also drew out their suffering. Gyokko was also short-tempered, shallow, and arrogant, especially when it came to things regarding his art. He was easily enraged by Muichiro's insults about the quality of his art to the point of bleeding from his blood vessels out of sheer fury. Through his conversation with the Hashira, he also constantly praised himself and his work as beautiful. Taking pride in his porcelain vases, Gyokko's blood demon art also revolved around them, notably themed around the sea and aquatic life forms. He was able to spawn them anywhere within his vicinity and create multiple pots of varying sizes at once. He can freely teleport from one pot to another instantaneously, offsetting his lack of legs and allowing him to travel far distances with minimal effort, as well as to evade attacks easily. These pots can trap others inside and spawn numerous gigantic fish-like amalgamations. These fish monsters similarly possess differing abilities and characteristics, like sharp claws, humanoid legs, or even monstrous teeth. Lastly, Gyokko could also manipulate and create water from the vases and use them as a powerful stream of water attack like a cannon, even suffocate his targets by trapping them inside an extremely durable vase made of water, as he used it to trap Moichiro. After Moichiro got out, with the swordsmith helps, he overwhelmed Gyokko with his strength. Gyokko now had to show his hidden form, which bore a heavy resemblance to that of a merman.
He grows much larger, possessing a more humanoid body with 2 large arms with a long teal serpent-like tail. His body was covered in transparent but also extremely durable scales. These scales can also glow red and be transformed into physical attacks, clashing with Moichiro's Nichiron sword. After being cut down by Moichiro, he still impassionately rants about how humans and everything else are worthless, and he is the one who brings value to them with his art. Hantengu, meaning half-heavenly hound. Hantengu is a cowardly demon who holds the position of upper rank 4. He was ordered by Muzan to attack the swordsmith village with Gyokko. Over 2 centuries ago, Hantengu was a pathological liar, a covert narcissist, a burglar, and a murderer. He had lied since he was a child and had a mind that twisted facts and interpretations to suit himself. Because he lied too much, he no longer even knew his true name. Several times he married and had children, but whenever accused of falsehoods and dishonesty, he would get upset that he was mistreated and kill his wife and children, and repeat the cycle all over again in a new town. Only when he was old was he caught and sentenced to death. Muzan visited him whilst awaiting his execution, transformed him into a demon, and gave the criminal a new life. Hantengu is a short, frail man covered with veins and wrinkles and was usually seen crouching. Hantengu has a persona of extreme cowardice and agitation, easily frightened by what occurs in his surroundings, even crying out in fear at most insignificant things. He always thought he was the victim and everyone else was at fault. Despite his cowardice, Hantengu's power as an upper moon is no joke. Although he himself was far too nervous and jittery to actually directly fight, through his blood demon art, he was able to manifest his emotions as 5 clones of himself. Each one of them characterizes a part of a Tengu and possesses an upper rank demon's level of strength. They have their own thoughts and personality with their own unique power. If the true Hantengu is still alive, his clone would remain to fight at all costs. Sekido. Sekido is the manifestation of Hantengu's anger and was in a constant state of irritation and rage, even towards his fellow clones. Though he showed himself to be the most dominant and acted as the de facto leader, Sekido was also seen to care very little about his brethren and only try to finish off the slayers as soon as possible. Despite being angry, Sekido was not blindly wrathful. He was more of a tactical and rational fighter. His blood demon art enables him to generate electricity that flashes blue and red from his flesh kakara by stabbing it onto the ground or any surface. His electricity was extremely potent and had a wide area of effect, instantly paralyzing the target, causing them to lose consciousness in a short period of time. Though his electricity could not pass through anything made from his own cells. When falling into a tough position, Sekido displayed the ability to draw in and absorb the bodies of Kakaru, Urogi, and Aizetsu, fusing to become Zohakuten. Karaku, as the manifestation of Hantengu's pleasure, he showed himself to be the most relaxed and laid back of Hantengu's clones. Instead of taking the battle seriously, he was constantly either praising or mocking the entire battle. He saw it as nothing more than a game. Karaku was one of the most outwardly sadistic clones. Instead of finishing off the enemy immediately, he decided to tease and play with them despite being able to overpower them anytime he wanted. Karaku's blood demon art allows him to create powerful gusts of wind with a maple leaf-shaped uchiwa. If blown straight, it could throw enemies over a large distance, and if blown downward, it would crush them with immense pressure. Aizetsu. Aizetsu was Hantengu's sorrow's manifestation. He was portrayed to be completely dejected and negative, constantly describing everything as depressing. Out of all the manifestations, Aizetsu was shown to be the calmest and most collected of all 5 of them. Unlike the usually vicious and bloodthirsty attitude most demons possess when killing humans, Aizetsu chose to kill quickly by striking vital areas, and he feels sadness should his opponent fails to die a quick death. While Hantengu's clones mainly fight using their overwhelming blood demon art, Aizetsu was the exception in a melee-based combat style. He displayed mastery in wielding a Jumanji, having the dexterity and strength to maneuver it with ease. Through his blood demon art, Aizetsu was able to create powerful beam-like projections of his spear, so potent that they could cut straight through an enemy's vital point, making it an instant death for almost anyone who was hit. Urogi. Urogi is the manifestation of Hantengu's joy. Unlike the rest of Hantengu's humanoid clones, Urogi possesses avian physiology with 2 large wings on his back and raptor-like feet armed with sharp talons, making combat with him extremely difficult. Similar to Karaku, Urogi was jovial and giddy and viewed the entire battle against the demon slayers as nothing more than a game or as a source of entertainment. He was also shown to be very boastful of his avian abilities as he brags about the speed and strength of his talents, which are powerful enough to cut through diamond. He frequently fights in the same manner as how a bird of prey hunts, swooping down to attack his target. Through his blood demon art, he was able to create extremely powerful sound waves from his mouth, enough to cause tinnitus and even temporary deafness. The drawback to this ability was that the screen takes a couple of seconds to charge up, leaving him vulnerable to attack. Zohakuten As the manifestation of Hantengu's hatred and a combination of 4 clones under Sekiro's ability, Zohakuten too was easily enraged and was incredibly spiteful and hateful towards his enemies. Despite this trait, Zohakuten was usually stoic and phlegmatic in his vindictive rantings, rarely raising his voice and instead speaking to the slayers frankly. Zohakuten was also shown to have a warped and unreasonable sense of justice and the human spirit. He admonished Tanjiro and Genya for attempting to behead the small and weak Hantengu, but when Tanjiro questions him about Hantengu's atrocities, he deems them non-related matters.
Designed based on the thunder god Raijin, Zohakuten had a series of 5 drums connected to each other in a wooden circular frame that inexplicably floated behind his back. Each drum had the kanji of hatred, Nzoku, displayed on it. He also carried around a bone-like dagger in each hand. Through his blood demon art, he was able to summon and manipulate wood made from his flesh to use for his liking, whether to protect Hantengu, create a podium for himself, or use offensively in the form of giant dragon-like entities. He was also able to use the blood demon arts of other clones, using his wooden dragons to emit electricity in the form of lightning bolts, unleash powerful wind blasts that leave craters in the ground, project spear-like attacks out of thin air, and generate deafening sound waves.
Urami. As the manifestation of Hantengu's resentment, Urami was a monstrous giant nearly identical to Hantengu, with the differences being both his drastically larger size and the kanji for resentment etched into his tongue. His striking resemblance was a deliberate ploy, so any attackers would target Urami and mistakenly believe him to be Hantengu's main body, unaware of the real main body hiding within his heart. True to his name, he is shown to be the embodiment of Hantengu's resentment due to him being punished and persecuted for crimes that he thought he was innocent of.
Urami's only known advantage over the demon slayers is his large size and his ability to utilize Urogi's sound wave. In addition, Urami has the debilitating weakness of having to share his power with Zohakuten, and since the demon of hatred was disproportionately stronger, he was sapped of his strength. After being beheaded by Tanjiro, he continues chasing after the swordsmith with the intention of consuming them. Tanjiro had to choose between saving strangers and Nezuko. Nezuko forced him to go and rescue others and accept that she would be burned by the sunlight. But later, they found out that Nezuko has sunlight immunity. Before turning to ashes, Hantengu gives Muzan this information.
Nakime, meaning the crying woman. Sometime after Hantengu's death, Nakime attains the position of upper rank 4. Nakime was aloof and taciturn, almost never speaking and displaying little to no emotion or will outside of obeying orders. In the past, Nakime was a struggling amateur biwa musician who married a hopelessly addicted gambler. One night, right before a scheduled stage play, she discovered that her husband had stolen her only biwa performance kimono and sold it for gambling. Enraged, Nakime murdered her husband using a hammer. Shortly after that, she was forced to wear a worn-out, tattered kimono to perform. The crowd did not appreciate her shabby looks. With the traumatic sensation of committing murder for the first time still fresh in her mind, her hands shook in nervousness as she played her biwa. But surprisingly, the sound of tension coming from the biwa was so beautiful that her audience loved her performance and shouted for an encore. Both her customers and the stage owner were pleased with the unexpected outcome, and Nakime was paid handsomely. Since then, Nakime developed a disturbing habit of killing people before performing, and every time, the sound of her biwa was highly commended and received extraordinarily positive feedback. One day, her target happens to be Muzan. He was impressed with Nakime's searching skills and pleased with what she did, so he spared her life, offered to make her a demon. Nakime accepted his offer and quickly became one of Muzan's top servants. Nakame's blood demon art is an alternate dimension that houses a fortress of immense scale called the Infinity Castle. As its owner, Nakame possesses complete control over the space, being able to manipulate and alter it at will by simply strumming her biwa. In the fortress with her at the center, there are countless rooms with seemingly endless variety. Later, she was able to detach hundreds of eyeball familiars from her body. This allowed her to spy on others from a long range, help Muzan find and locate the positions of nearly all members of the Demon Slayer Corps, as well as the hidden mansion of Kagaya Ubayashiki. Nakime has also displayed the ability to use her unorthodox blood demon art offensively. She shapes rooms into gigantic pillars and ramming them into her enemies to crush them, as well as tricking opponents into falling to their deaths. She can also teleport anyone in or out of the Infinity Castle. She proves herself to be a tough fight until Yushiro restrains her. This makes Muzan have to kill her to prevent his enemies from taking control of the castle.
Kaigaku, meaning Cunning Mountain Peak. Kaigaku is a young demon who attained the position of upper rank 6 following Daki and Gyutaro's deaths. When he was a kid, Kaigaku was one of the orphans under Gyomei's care. However, he was chased out by the other children for stealing the temple's money and encountered a demon, which he let into the temple in exchange for having his life spared. This act led to their deaths and Gyomei's wrongful imprisonment. He then became a member of the Demon Slayer Corps and Zenitsu's senior, learning from from the former Hashira, Jigoro Kuwajima. Sometime during Hashira training, Kaigaku went on a mission and encountered upper rank 1 Kokushibo. He quickly surrendered to him to save his own skin, and later became a member of the 12 Kizuki.
Though outwardly brash and arrogant, Kaigaku is in fact cowardly and selfish. Like many orphans who grew up with nothing, he resorted to doing any immoral or demeaning acts as a means to survive, like thievery and drinking from a puddle. He believed that if one hasn't died, even if they've suffered through hardship, or if they resorted to committing petty acts, they haven't lost and can come back for victory someday. Despite his disinterest in becoming a slayer for the greater good, Kaigaku did show a desire for a status as a master swordsman, an extremely proficient swordsman specializing in the thunder breathing, being considered Jigoro's superior student and was respected as such by Zenitsu. Unlike Zenitsu, who only mastered the first of the 6 forms of thunder breathing, Kaigaku only mastered the other 5.
Complementing his breathing style, Kaigaku's blood demon art grants him special electrokinetic abilities, which allow him to generate and manipulate black-colored lightning and electricity from his flesh and blood. This creates a special effect that cracks and rends his target's flesh while burning it, greatly augmenting the lethality and offensive capability of his attacks. While he was already spiteful and cruel as a human, becoming a demon revealed a much more unrestrained and psychotic side to Kaigaku. Not only was he gleeful at the prospect of killing the junior he had long hated with his newfound power, but he expressed his satisfaction towards Jigoro's suicide with a large smile on his face and calling him name. In the end, after being beheaded by Zenitsu's self-taught 7th form, Kaigaku remains unrepentant and is pleased to know that at least Zenitsu would die with him. But upon seeing Yushiro rescue Zenitsu, Kaigaku screams in anger as the remainder of his body disintegrates.
Akaza, meaning gentle status. Akaza is a contentious demon who holds the position of upper rank 3. He is a stubborn, harsh, short-fused, and bloodthirsty fighter who desires to fight the strong, respects the strong, and loathes the weak. He always purposefully drew out fights to savor every moment of it, and tended to become enthralled whenever he was hit by a powerful opponent, not due to masochism, but out of a genuine admiration for their skills. He first appeared after Enmu was defeated in the Mugen Train arc. After an intense battle, he defeated and killed the flame Hashira Rengoku, then fled into the nearby jungle because of the rising sun.
Through being a strong demon favored by Muzan and having a deeply rooted psychological need to become stronger, Akaza never devoured any women, even when doing that would have actually made him even stronger. It's all because of his past. As a human, Akaza was a stubborn and resilient boy named Hakuchi. He lived over a century ago with a sickly father in the Edo slum. He was born with an ill omen of a pair of sharp fangs that made people deem him a demon child. Because of their poverty, Hakuchi picked pockets of people in town in order to pay for his father's medicine. He was caught 3 times and heavily punished for it. He was even marked with a criminal tattoo, which is 3 lines of black ink. After becoming a demon, this tattoo was marked all over Akaza's body, signaling that he had committed heavy sins.
Upon hearing that Hakuchi had become a criminal, his father committed suicide to free his son from the burden of caring for him. Lost his only family and banished from Edo, Hakuchi was enraged at society and picked fights with other people. One day, when he beat up 7 men and nearly killed them, the village's dojo owner, Keizo, easily beat him up. Hakuchi became Keizo's disciple and took care of his sickly daughter, Koyuki. In this period, Hakuchi defeated their rivaling Kenjutsu dojo, which sought to seize Keizo's land for themselves. Hakuchi also took good care of Koyuki and built a strong bond with her. After a few years, Keizo offered Hakuchi to take over the dojo and marry his daughter. Being embarrassed and surprised by this, Hakuchi immediately agrees, promising to protect both his master and his wife, even if the cost of it was his own life. However, his vow was short-lived. After Hakuchi returned from the visit to his father's grave, he found out that the rival dojo had poisoned the well because they weren't strong enough to beat Hakuchi in a direct fight. It killed both Keizo and Koyuki. This is why Akaza despises the weak, for they only resort to cheap tricks and dirty schemes. Enraged, Hakuchi mangled 67 people in the rival dojo with his bare hands. The fight was so gruesome that even Muzan came to investigate what was the cause, and was surprised to know that it was a human. With nothing left to protect, and having lost his will to continue living, Hakuchi agrees to turn into Akaza with Muzan's offer. As his most notable attribute, Akaza possessed exceptional prowess in hand-to-hand combat and martial art, with the mastered Soryu style he inherited from Keizo. The Soryu style utilized a user's arms and legs to unleash swift and powerful strikes that targeted an opponent's neck and weapon. With over a century of combat experience, Akaza engaged both Tomioka and Tanjiro simultaneously in the Infinity Castle battle and dominated them for the majority of the time. His blood demon art also revolved around martial arts, merging the manipulation of destructive shockwaves and the Soryu style. Akaza Akaza also had an enhanced sensory technique called compass needle, whose shape and design were influenced by his wife's name and hairpin. This technique helps him sense fighting spirit, which encompasses a person's will to fight and their intent to kill. With this ability, he not only senses someone's presence, but also their strength and weakness with just a glance, and anticipates and reacts to their attacks from anywhere. Although being a demon, Akaza offers those he recognizes a chance to become demon so they can preserve their refined techniques and skills like him. He also did not discriminate against warriors who once weak then become strong later. Despite initially attempting to kill Tanjiro over how weak he was during their first encounter, he now praised and complimented Tanjiro, even going so far as to thank Kyojiro for Tanjiro's growth. With extraordinary willpower and unwavering determination, when Tanjiro and Tomioka finally cut his head off, Akaza even defied death and continued to fight with his headless body. After recalling the entirety of his past, Akaza began regretting his actions both as a human and a demon. He realized he had never respected his father's words to live an honest life and tainted Keizo's precious Soryu style by using it to murder others. He realized he hated himself for all of the times he was not there to save or protect those he loved, and that he really wanted to kill himself all along. Knowing that the people he wanted to protect had long since died, Akaza lost the will to continue fighting, as his pursuit of strength was already for naught, and he decided to end his own life. In his final moments, Akaza showed that he still had his humanity left in him, remarking that Tanjiro's technique was magnificent and that he had lost fair and square, even smiling and feeling gratitude towards him for reminding him of his past. Doma, meaning polished child. Doma is a nihilistic and misanthropic demon who currently holds the position of upper rank 2. Despite being born with strange features like Akaza, which is a pair of polychromatic eyes and pale-colored hair, Doma was hailed as a supernatural presence by his parents. They established the Eternal Paradise cult, with Doma as its leader, and had people worship him. However, Doma was born a high-functioning psychopath. He didn't show or feel any emotions, as he admits that the entire concept of emotion itself was alien to him. When Doma was a boy, his mother killed his father after finding out he had been cheating on her with other cult members, then took her own life. Even when he witnessed his own parents' deaths, Doma remained unfazed. When he listened to all his followers' troubles and gave them advice, he only saw them as foolish and pitiful worms begging him for mercy. He has a cynical view of the world and has his twisted ideal reality. His most consistent belief is that life is painful and that only death can deliver us from the pain of life. Doma met Muzan when he turned 20 and turned into a demon. Soon, Doma began eating people, especially females, under the name of absolution. He single-mindedly believed that those he devoured would live forever with him. He continued to serve as the leader of the cult, of which he kept no more than 250 members to avoid being discovered. Doma is outwardly friendly and cheery, possessing an approachable and charismatic air, always talking and acting in a calm and carefree manner. But under his facade, Doma is a cold, deranged, sadistic, and calculating individual with an extremely keen intellect that most resembles Muzan Kibutsuji. About the fighting aspect, Doma possesses inhuman movement speed and reflexes, being able to move so fast that he appears to teleport. He is also incredibly skilled in Tessenjutsu, even surpassing Akaza's bare-fisted combat prowess. His blood demon art grants him extremely powerful cryokinesis. He can generate ice and frost from his flesh and blood, and can spawn it anywhere in his vicinity, as well as manipulate it at will, allowing him to unleash incredibly potent ice techniques. Doma is also capable of creating constructs out of the ice, such as frost lotuses, stalagmites, clouds of icy air, and even miniature ice clones of himself, capable of unleashing the same techniques as him. Additionally, the ice created from his blood demon art is extremely lethal to those that inhale it, causing the cells of the victim's lungs to die and rendering them unable to breathe very quickly. When Doma's Tessenjutsu incorporates his cryokinetic blood demon art, would enhance its range and lethality, making his fighting style a great blend of offense and defense. He is very, very strong. Doma managed to overpower the two demon slayers until suddenly the wisteria flower poison took effect and started to melt Doma's body. In a desperate measure to defeat him, Shinobu administers a massive dose of wisteria-based poison into her body and allows herself to be consumed, weakening him in order for Kanao and Inosuke being able to kill him. Unable to fight back, Doma realized he had been tricked, but it was too late. He was soon decapitated by the combined force of Kanawa and Inosuke, avenging Shinobu and her family. Trying to struggle for survival like Akaza, but lacking the indomitable willpower that Akaza had, Doma's head slowly disintegrated, and he met Shinobu's soul in the limbo. Shinobu had refused to pass on to heaven until she personally saw to Doma's death. Kokushibo, meaning Black Death Eyes, Kokushibo holds the highest position of the 12 Kizuki. He is a tall man who has a muscular build, described as profoundly majestic and dignified, with the most notable feature being the 3 sets of eyes on his face. Kokushibo is a former demon slayer and the older twin brother of Yoriichi Tsugikuni. He was a human named Michikatsu Tsugikuni who lived during the Sengoku era. Kokushibo had pursued strength and greatly desired to be the strongest, even when he was a kid. As the older son in a high-status family, he was brought up in luxury, which gave him good conditions to become a strong samurai as he wanted. On the other hand, early-age Yoriichi is a mute, meek, and callow boy who seems to depend on their mother. At first, Kokushibo thought of himself as superior and pitied Yoriichi. However, he later harbored an immense sense of envy towards his younger twin brother after witnessing his natural talent and incredible abilities. These feelings of jealousy and contempt only became stronger later upon seeing his brother become a peerless warrior of unmatched caliber among even the Demon Slayer Corps, with none of the Hashira able to come close to Yoriichi's level of strength. This fostered a drive to become as strong or surpass his brother, a sentiment so strong that he abandoned his family and humanity to become a demon upon Muzan's offer to further perfect his techniques. Kokushibo is reserved, silent, and aloof, maintaining an aura of unnerving tranquility and mystery that complements his position as upper rank 1. He rarely speaks. When he does, he talks in a slow and emphatic manner that gives more gravitas and authority to his words. Kokushibo is an extraordinarily powerful demon, second only to the Demon King Muzan Kibutsuji himself. He has battled countless demon slayers and has amassed vast experience and knowledge over his nearly 500-year-long life. He is not only a master of total concentration breathing, but also a marked individual who has gained access to the transparent world, as well as the highest concentration of Muzan's blood, and the first demon that utilized breathing styles with full 16 powerful forms. Complementing his moon breathing, Kokushibo's blood demon art allows him to create and manipulate dozens of sharp blades shaped like traditional crescent moons from his flesh katana. These crescent moon blades are innately chaotic, constantly changing in size, direction, and speed, making Kokushibo's attacks extremely unpredictable and unreadable, as they have no set pattern at all. Kokushibo's fear of defeat stems from his inferiority complex and desire for strength. This fear causes him to become increasingly aggressive and desperate in battle, relying on his demon powers. However, as he faces off against the Hashira, Kokushibo realizes the heavy cost of his pursuit of strength. He becomes a grotesque monster, far from his idealized vision of becoming the strongest samurai like his brother. Jealousy and resentment have twisted him. Despite the immense jealousy, spite, and outright hatred he harbors for Yoriichi, he still deeply cares for his brother, as seen when he was touched by Yoriichi treasuring the handmade flute he had made for him as a child. Kokushibo sheds tears over his brother's death. In his final moments, he is filled with sorrow and rage, lamenting his life choices upon seeing he hasn't achieved his goals, and questioning if the path he chose was truly the right one. He realizes that his desire for a legacy had been for naught, and he had ended up accomplishing nothing in his centuries of existence. As he disintegrates, Kokushibo angrily asks his deceased brother why he was even born, expressing his frustration at not achieving his desires.